Today's morning coffee vinyl side. Clyde McCoy. Clyde McCoy's Sugar Blues, circa 1955. Clyde McCoy was a fine Dixieland jazz and blues trumpeter who was known for being a successful band leader, with a long and storied career that saw him through the Roaring Twenties, the Great Depression, World War II, and the Dixieland resurgence of the 1950s. He continued to play and perform up until his 80s until he was sidelined with Alzheimer's, and he passed away in 1990 at the age of 86 while being attended to by his loving wife of many years, who had actually joined his band with her sister in 1935. Clyde lived what I like to call a musical life. Now, the coolest thing about Clyde was that he pioneered a sound and technique with a trumpet mute that allowed him to create a sound known as wah-wah. Now, did your ears just perk up a bit? Yeah. Before Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton or George Harrison discovered the wah-wah pedal for guitar, there was a guy who pioneered the sound in the 1920s by shaping the sound of his trumpet by articulating a trumpet mute open and closed with his hand over the trumpet's bell. Clyde was so identified with the sound and technique that when Thomas Organ Company engineers developed an electric pedal in the mid-60s to emulate the technique, which was later marketed and sold to guitar players, they sought out McCoy to use his name and endorsement to market it. The Clyde McCoy wah-wah pedal was eventually renamed the Crybaby, and McCoy's name fell away. But make no mistake about it, culturally, back then, when you thought wah-wah, you thought Clyde. Now, I have a few guitar pedals in my arsenal, and as I play through more digital modeling rigs, I have access to many more. But when it comes down to foot in the floor, old school pedals, my own Crybaby wah-wah is one of my faves. It's actually quite thrilling to have pulled this album just to connect the dots to the legacy. My first ever use of a wah pedal was when I was 13 or 14 and our junior high school jazz band was playing a major West Coast adjudicated festival. I had borrowed our guitarist's Morley Crybaby wah to use for a bass solo on Stevie Wonder's Master Blaster. I had the option of doing 8 bars or 16, and by memory, I only did 8. My foot was shaking so badly as I worked the pedal up and down that I knew I should get in and get out as clean as I could before my nerves took everything sideways. Now I made it, and I got an honorable mention for the solo, which was cool. But I'd never used it before, so it would have probably been a better idea to have at least tried it out beforehand. My most recent use of wah comes from a song I released a couple of years ago called So the Story Goes that was part of a Hamer Guitar User compilation album, and my contribution was submitted under the band name Finish Effect. Finish Effect is one of the band names I record and release music under. I'll put some links in the video description for the curious. I love using the wah to subtly shape notes. It's actually all over the song if you know what to listen for, and I was pretty happy with the results. So what a treat today was. I didn't know I'd be pulling this album, so it was a welcome surprise. And the album is fantastic. It sounded great too. Like old Clyde was just around the corner of the living room, wahing it up for my wife and I. This one's a keeper.